Hi. What a blessing it is to have you here today with me on Real Talk. Please keep in mind, my friend, that Real Talk is about your spiritual walk with God. Not only is it about your spiritual walk with God, but it's also about your mental health. I'm excited that you are here with me. My friend, I believe that this word will bless you. So I'm asking you to participate in the process in terms of sharing this word. I'm asking you if you can right now press the subscribe button right there on your screen. And I believe that God will bless you as you share this word. Well, I'm getting ready to go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 to verse 8. This is what the Word of God says. It says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." Well, my friend, I'd like to speak to you today about navigating life's seasons. That's right, you got it, navigating life's seasons. Well, my friend, whatever you want to call them, passages, stages, seasons, by whatever name you want to call them, my friend, there are literally definite periods of time. There are definite time frames. And there are developmental periods that we all go through in life. I guess it all depends on where you are, determines your outlook in life. For example, there is often the boldness about youth. Sometimes that boldness about youth can be reckless. Then there is the vigor about early adulthood. You got that energy, you got that zest for life. And then there is the competency and the knowability about middle adulthood. You are a professional and you have developed certain skill sets. And then as you go through life, my friend, and some of you know this so well, there is the mellowness about old age. There's a calmness to who you are as a person. Somebody said it's like this: you are no longer a rat in the rat race, because you have arrived at a certain place, a certain stage in life, and you are no longer competing with anybody else. Well, my friend, I'm here to say by the power of God that if you pay attention to life, you will discover, like I have discovered, that life has its ups and its downs. Life is full of bipolar opposites. You ever heard of somebody who's diagnosed with bipolar? They are literally going from one extreme to the other extreme. And sometimes in your life and in my life, you can find yourself dealing with extremes. In other words, I have discovered that there are paradoxical situations that can creep up in your life and in my life. What are you saying? I'm saying that sometimes in your life there is joy and then there is sorrow. Sometimes there is pain and then there is delight. Sometimes there's a sense of happiness and then you have to deal with the reality of misery. Sometimes life can be logical and then sometimes it's illogical. Life is composed of alternating currents. Life has its ups, its downs, its risings, its fallings. Life has flowers. Life has thorns. Life sometimes has its yeses and its nos. And the question that is before us is, how do we navigate through the two extremes of life, the ups and the downs? Or perhaps I could put it in a statistical way: how do you deal with the X and the Y situations in your life? Well, let me see if I can illustrate it like this. Traffic volume typically increases during rush hours. And when it does, things go up and you are wondering, when in the world will this traffic be over? So it's up. On the other hand, when traffic decreases, situations go down. The same thing applies to the principle of temperature. Temperature may increase as the sun comes up, but then as the sun goes down, it goes down. What are you saying? Well, Solomon is saying to us that it does not matter, no matter what happens to us, whether it's up or down. Listen to me now. Whether life is up or down, God is absolutely sovereign. That means He rules in your ups or in your downs. He is the correlational God between your ups and your downs. In other words, He is in the middle of it all. He is the upside of down in your life. Now listen, come close, my friend, because Solomon describes these events. He lists 14 points or polar opposites. Solomon puts two extremes together. I just want to talk about these extremes. There are 3 points to help you handle the seasons of life. Are you ready, my friend? Here it is. Number 1 is the pendulum principle of acceptance. The pendulum principle of acceptance. Do you see it in the word? To everything there is a season and a time, verse 1. to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. This is a microcosm or the nutshell or the unfolding of human existence. What do you mean? You plant, you harvest. You break down, you build up. You weep, you laugh. You mourn, you dance. This is the catalog of life. Life is contained in these short services. Do you see the back and forth in this list? In other words, it looks like a swinging pendulum. Life will take you this way and that way, this way and that way. In fact, my friend, we have a grandfather clock in our home. I love to listen to it because the pendulum is always swinging back and forth, back and forth. And I have discovered that life swings back and forth. At some point in your life, you are going to find yourself dealing with the back and forth of life, the extremes of life. Life is on a perpetual loop. The longer you live, the more you realize that life is alternating. Every birth ends in death. Every planted crop is pulled up. Every celebration of life is going to eventually give way to a funeral. Every peaceful situation in the world will eventually give way to war. Life is full of changes. Nothing is stagnant. Early in life, you are invited to birthday parties and showers. Later in life, you are invited to hospital visits and funerals because the pendulum of life is always swinging. Life ebbs and flows. But in spite of the ebbing and flowing of life, you have this constant promise that God is with you. We are faithless, but He is faithful. We are temporal, but He is eternal. We are changing, but He is changeless. You want to go to the second point with me? Here it is. The purpose of seasons and adaptability. Listen to what it says in verse 3. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn and a time to dance. The purpose of the season is for growth and transformation. That's the purpose of your life, for growth and for transformation. The purpose of the season is for evaluation of where you are. There is a time for everything. God has a clock. God has a clock that He has designed for your life. But God is not obligated to the clock because He is eternal and God is outside of the clock. But He has given you a clock that you ought to syncopate your life to His clock so that you can reach your purpose and you can reach your goals and your objectives. We sit inside of time, but God sits out of time because He is in control of everything. Time is related to purpose. Time is related to purpose and adaptability. We set our clocks at 8:30 or at 6:30 a.m. or at 5:30. We get up because we have a purpose. We ought to set our clocks according to God's divine purpose. Having purpose, listen to me now, motivates you. Having purpose gives you direction. And what Solomon is saying is that we ought to maximize the season that we are in. Can I go through it one more time? Here it is, the pendulum principle of acceptance. The purpose of seasons and adaptability. And here's the last thing I need to say. The power of perspective and alignment. What we are called upon to do is to align our lives with God. A time to get and a time to lose. What we are looking at, my brothers and my sisters, is gaining the wisdom that God has given us so that we can deal with the transitions of life. God set the time for those things in your life. It's our responsibility to go after those things that God has set for us to do. We have a limited amount of it, and it's fixed by God. A time for everything. So we need to maximize the time that God has given us. Well, my brothers and my sisters, hear me now. No matter what is around the bend, no matter what may come in your life, keep in mind that God will walk with you as you walk through the seasons of life. Walk through the doors because you still have time. Walk through with courage and tenacity. God's not done with you. You are not stuck unless you stop. Well, my friend, be blessed. It's been a blessing having you today with me on Real Talk. And may God richly bless you. Keep in mind that Real Talk is about your mental health. It's about your spiritual walk with God. Be blessed. Press the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye for now, Dr. Bair.